Hello there, Reject Nation. Let's bring you in a little closer. Or
should I have this off right now? Okay,
yeah.
I'll take it off.
Look appealing.
I'm working on it.
You're doing great.
Hi.
Hi there, Reject Nation. I'm Greg Albo.
And I'm Kat Alvarado.
We're going to watch a video from one of my favorite channels, What Culture. 10, well, it says more actors. We're going to just skip to this one. 10 actors who broke typecasting in the most epic way.
Epic. What?
You know who's broken typecasting from just being funny lady? It's Kat with her podcast,
Me.
Villains of History.
Yes!
Kat, officially tell them what it's about.
Villains of History is about the worst people of history, like Caligula, Andrew Jackson, or...
John Greg Alba, John Wilkes Booth.
Greg was actually my first podcast episode, so you can listen to that episode, but listen to all the episodes because they're funny and great. I've got some really talented people on there.
Oh, yeah.
So it's
some very hot people to listen to their voices.
Yeah.
Go check it out as soon as you can, guys.
Do it.
Now, let's see what actors broke typecasting. And let me see if I agree with any of these people. But let's face it, we're just going to shoot it, try not to laugh after this, and that'll get the most views.
Yep.
Okay.
There must come a time in every actor's career when they look at what they've done in their recent movies and think about what it says about them as an actor. Obviously, that can't be the case
Devil's
for
Advocate.
everyone, or else
That was
certain
who?
actors would
That
have
was the
stopped
Devil's
making
Advocate.
straight-to-DVD garbage and Die Hard sequels years ago. But it has to be with some.
Alrighty
There is
then.
of breaking
She's so
typecasting
pretty.
and how much of a currency there is attached to anyone successfully doing so. Think about it. Matthew McConaughey's somewhat unlikely revival was considered both unlikely and a revival.
Have you seen that show?
Because he
True Detective?
stopped playing pretend that he was just a handsome, chiseled man and started playing pretend that he was more complex characters.
Who are still handsome, chiseled men.
He's pretending to be more complex.
Some sort of champion typecast underdog. It's no wonder then that others have tried the same trick, really. So with that in mind, I am breaking free of my typecasting to play roles I have never been offered before. I am now the fun and hilarious Ash from What Culture, and these are 10 more actors who broke typecasting in the most epic
She's
way.
saying she's not fun and hilarious.
Guess
Tom
so.
Hanks. Road to
One of my
Perdition.
favorite movies!
It's almost a cliche to say, but Tom Hanks was the ultimate everyman actor. He has solid, dependable charisma, can add heart to even slightly dislikable character types, and he's pretty much the greatest romantic comedy lead of modern times.
Never
He's
met
just
this
a
guy.
really nice guy. He's been everything across the hero spectrum, from astronauts to cowboy toys to police bachelors. And even though it's not a villain in the strictest sense, the idea of Hanks playing a mob assassin is still wildly out of his wheelhouse.
Yeah.
He'd done Complexity before, but he'd never abandoned his full morality and integrity that had developed out of his earlier snarky comedic hero image. In The Road to Perdition, hot and fresh out the kitchen, he became the very definition of subversion, and it worked incredibly well. Since then, more morally dubious roles have sneaked in, but this feels more like Hanks proving he can do it rather than trying to make a new career for himself. Charlize Theron,
True.
monster.
That's
That was so
major
good.
typecast breaking.
Charlize Theron was limited to roles defined by her looks for most of her formative acting years.
I mean, she
But it
is beautiful.
certainly was a
So
big factor.
pretty. She's the
She
prettiest
even decried
ever.
the limited opportunities she was getting because of how she looked. She said herself that jobs with real gravitas go to people that are physically right for them, and that is the end of the story. And I quote, "How many roles are out there for the gorgeous gown-wearing 8-foot model? When meaty roles come through, I've been in the room, and pretty people get turned away first." She played
That's
fair
why I don't
outright
have
sporting
it.
roles
That's
with
what it is.
exceptions like Devil's Advocate, but has now defined herself as a heavyweight actor with the likes of Young Adult, Mad Max Fury Road, and North Country behind her. And it took Monster
She's
to do that
badass.
for her. She changed
I think
her
she's
physical
super underrated.
appearance and her entire demeanour
So
to play
true.
serial killer Eileen Wuornos, and the results, not only for that film but for the perception of her as an actress, were incredible. 8. Jim Carrey, The Truman Show. After breaking out with Ace
Sure.
Ventura, Jim Carrey set expectations that he was going to be a very funny actor who was very reliant on flamboyant, mugging performances. For the first 2 years after his arrival as a big deal, that's pretty much all he did, with only the cable guy standing out as a darker movie. And even that has a lot of his usual mugging antics in it. These days, Carrey seems to flip between more dramatic roles and
Love that
sillier
movie.
ones, as
One
with
of
the
my
following
faves.
up in his role Kid In with the forthcoming performance in the Sonic movie. He would be in a position to do that were it not for The Truman Show,
That's
which
true.
might have been a comedy, but was heavy on pathos he hadn't explored before that. The script gave him the space to really act, proving his dramatic chops as he played Truman as a straight, if slightly kooky character in a very dark, perverse world. It opened a lot of eyes, and he's since gone on to play more dramatic roles as in Man on the Moon, The Majestic, and
Eternal Sunshine
of the Spotless Mind. 7. Henry Fonda, Once Upon a Time in the West.
Totally.
Like Tom Hanks,
Absolutely.
This is what we most know about.
Fonda was a blue-eyed vision of the dependable hero. He was known for his likability, his charisma, and his familiarity, and looked to be both cut from the cloth of old-world heroes and destined to do it forever. This was basically the first stunt casting, and remains one of the most famous and successful examples.
First
of
stunt
typewriting.
casting, huh?
Sergio Leone saw in Fonda's casting an opportunity to play with expectations to great effect in Once Upon a Time in the West. The inversion in itself became chilling, but Fonda's performance is completely alien to his former roles. It's almost like his humanity has been struck from his piercing eyes and replaced with something far more sinister, like ice. Some really scary ice. 6. Denzel Washington, Training Day.
It's a nice touch.
For the majority of his career before 2001, Denzel Washington built a reputation as the hero's hero. He may have played complex characters like Malcolm X, but his roles tended to be marked by innate wholesomeness. He was, for all intents and purposes, a good guy actor, bristling with charisma and self-confidence. But
What's that
reassuring
Keanu Reeves
to say
movie?
that he could have gone his whole career without deviation. That all changed in 2001 when Washington grew a goatee, a short sign universally, and became the ultimate badass crooked cop. He was as far removed from his inspirational, life-changing coach in Remember the Titans as was possibly conceivable, and it added grit and depth to his acting persona that had thus far been absent. From there, he has mixed it up a lot more, and the point is very much that his performance spectrum appears far
I always
broader.
forget Idris Elba's
5.
in that, yeah.
Matthew McConaughey, Killer Joe, and Mud.
I've heard Killer Joe is
Matthew McConaughey was the
amazing.
go-to for romantic
Really?
I haven't
comedies
seen
and
it
a
yet,
certain
but-
type of action-adventure movie. If you needed someone with warmth, good looks, and a big old southern drawl, but not the wow of Owen
Wow.
Wilson, you cast McConaughey, whose twinkling eyes made his scariest character flaws oh so forgivable. McConaughey says he had a moment of
My crush.
revelation himself, realising
He
that
is
whilst he
a beautiful
enjoyed what
man.
he was doing, his focus on that sort of material was limiting other opportunities. So he set out to change it. His charming but menacing rogue in Magic Mike was a big step in his so-called McConaughey-naissance. But before that, he made the back-to-back shockers of Killer Joe and Mud, in which he played murderers at different ends of the spectrum, admittedly. For him to go almost seamlessly from Ghosts of Girlfriends Past to this more adventurous, darker material was akin to ripping off a band-aid. And boy, did it work out alright for him.
Alright.
4. James Cagney, Yankee Doodle Dandy.
Oh, another
Right
one
at the start of
that
his
Yeah,
we
career,
know.
this
James
is in
Cagney
our
was somewhat
period.
let down by his own
Absolutely.
success. He did so well playing complex tough guys in films like The Public Enemy, Angels with Dirty Faces, and White Heat that he found himself typecast and his options limited. Even when he was adding unprecedented depth and exceptional performances to his bad guys, as he did in White Heat, he was primarily a
Damn,
gangster movie
the
actor.
one punch he can
That
do
was
right
his
there.
brand, and it had its big nasty claws stuck into him like a rabid gunslinging cat. But that just makes Cagney's breakout
Okay.
from his stereotype as unexpected as it is joyful. After a run of dramas, adventure films, and playing the same sort of tough guy roles he'd always been known for, Cagney was cast as entertainer George M. Cohen in Michael Curtis's musical Yankee Doodle Dandy.
Of
It
course.
was a role that took Cagney back to his musical entertainment roots, but he still had to fight to be cast. He proved himself very right by dazzling the world and winning an Oscar for Best Actor in the process. 3. Albert Brooks.
Oh,
Right.
so
For
good
most
call.
people of a certain
Good
age,
call.
Albert Brooks is most recognisable, or at least his voice is, as Marlin in Finding Nemo. But the reason he was cast by Pixar there was mostly because of his recognisable type. He'd typically play neurotic, funny types with the slightest bubble of meanness under the surface, but nothing approaching aggression. Insecurity, nervousness, and a touch of egotistical obsession ran through his characters, as those are very much the pillars of his early on-stage persona. Like Robin Williams, Brooke went villainous for his
Shaved
time
his eyebrows?
as as Nicholas Winding Refn put his famed left-field imagination to good use to cast him as violent crime boss Bernie Rhodes. He's not like a Joe Pesci in Goodfellas sort of evil, but his calm demeanour is surprisingly intimidating.
It, like,
and there's
fits him.
absolutely no hint of his usual nervous shtick. It is a picture of restrained brilliance. 2. Bruce Willis. Death Becomes Her. Initially, Bruce Willis's type was romantic comedy lead, but Die Hard changed all that overnight and he became the go-to action comedy lead with Die Hard 2, The Last Boy Scout and Hudson Hawk coming in quick succession. He also played slightly darker roles in The Bonfire of the Vanities and Mortal Thoughts, but the fact they failed to really dent his image proved the strength of the immediate typecasting. For Death Becomes Her, Willis abandoned both his action lead pool and his flirtations with dark characters to play slapstick loser Dr. Ernest Menville. He barely even looks the same thanks to aging makeup, a sickly alcoholic pallor and a general loser stick. It's a completely transformative role that is as far removed from John McClane's achingly hip sense of removal and snark, and watching him exaggeratedly play along Meryl Streep and Goldie Hawn's 40 zombies is just as delightful as it is surprising. 1. Jennifer Aniston.
Oh yeah.
That was so good.
Oh yeah. That's a good role.
Of their career playing one single character, Jennifer Aniston's image in Hollywood after Friends was very much that she and Rachel Green were inseparable. She'd surely make the rest of her career as a romantic comedy lead or as a love interest, even in more dramatic movies. That seemed to be confirmed by her roles in the likes of Along Came Polly, The Breakup and Bruce Almighty, hardly challenging roles which doubled down on her Rachel appeal. It took until 2011, but Aniston finally killed Rachel Green when she played the toxic, highly sexed, abusive boss actress in Horrible Bosses. It was as much a bad girl role as Rachel was a good girl, as the dentist made unwanted, aggressive sexual advances towards a male hygienist and pushed boundaries as far as they would go. She's basically some sexy evil personified, and far more provocative than anything she had ever played up until that point, which is why the performance is so deliciously rewarding. Or so I hear. And that's our list. Which other actors belong here? Share your thoughts in the comment section below. I've been Ash and this has been What Culture. Make sure to subscribe to the What Culture YouTube channel for more lists like this, and don't forget to visit whatculture.com for daily news and articles. Thanks for watching.
That was wonderful. That was wonderful.
Loved it.
I wonder if the Jennifer Aniston role of what she did there, because I heard they had to cut out a scene that was very clearly defined as she essentially, R-words him. Ooh. Part of the humor of that role, especially with the time when that movie came out, I feel like even now if it came out, is that it's gender swapped,
Yes.
and that's what makes it so hilarious. So I'm wondering if like in a few decades from now, it'll be like, no, this isn't right anymore.
This
you know what I mean?
is problematic.
Yeah, exactly.
Dude, it's already problematic.
That's part of what's so funny is how problematic it is, though. I think it's hilarious, bro. I think it's so funny.
But you know what I love about the role, though, is because it's putting the guy in what's normally the girl's place, it's kind of getting people to empathize, maybe in a way that they wouldn't normally. Now they're like, I get it. I mean, to the people on the edge who wouldn't have gotten it, you know?
It's because from the guy, I mean, in the movie, his character he's either engaged or married, so he doesn't want to cheat on his significant other. But everyone around is like, but she's so hot, just do it anyway, because that is the guy mentality. And so I'm wondering, like, if his character was single, would it be the same kind of... I don't know. We're getting too much into it. Bottom line, Jennifer Aniston, she broke typecasting pretty well. That's a good transitional one. And I guess the way... As I could probably call upon so many different names that have broken typecasting, but I think they made a little bit more of a specific list here of like who has broken typecasting and the film was a hit.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Because other actors have broken typecasting many times, but their films aren't necessarily a hit from that. Mm-hmm. Keanu Reeves played a bad guy in a movie called The Watcher, I think is what it's called.
Never heard of it.
It's not very good, and he's not very good in the movie. So I feel like, that's a role where he broke typecasting, but it's not going to make it on this list.
Definitely.
Because it wasn't a hit. I think out of all the actors, though, McConaughey's the one who has really redesigned his whole image a lot. Because... Like, I don't really think of... When I hear Matthew McConaughey, I'm like, oh, it's probably going to be some, like, badass, prestigious, dramatic role. where there was a time where that's not at all what I thought of when I would think of pretty boy, romantic, charming dude. But now when I think about him, I just saw the movie Dallas Buyers Club just like a month and a half ago or something.
Yeah, I heard that one was amazing.
He's incredible. Well earned that Oscar for sure. To me, that's cool. Like they're bringing up the example of someone like Tom Hanks who would do like a one-off with The Road to Perdition, but then pretty much go back to what he normally does. Where McConaughey, he's been writing that and he's been like killing it since. It's not just a fluke or a one-off thing. Because like even with Jim Carrey, he did Truman Show. As much as I say in this list, he hops between roles. Does he really? Like and the more dramatic stuff he does now, no one really watches them. I heard his show was good, but I could probably count the dramatic roles on one hand that people actually know.
Yeah. Honestly, his dramatic versus his other stuff, it's really like, oh, he's just stopped making ridiculous faces. It's kind of it. There's not been one where it's his Monster or his Dallas Buyers Club where he's like really gone for it and completely changed. I mean, The Grinch, but...
Well, I think The Truman Show was a good transition because it was still advertised like it was a comedy.
Yes.
Then you walk in, you're like, oh, there's actually a lot more serious, a lot more nuance in there. I feel like the one that's like super dramatic that really hit for people was Eternal Sunshine.
Yes. That one was so good.
He's not doing any Jim Carrey-ness in that movie. I feel like Truman Show, you still get that. Man on the Moon, of course. He's great in these other movies.
I think the reason why Eternal Sunshine is so great speaks to why a good script and a good story is so important. Because Eternal Sunshine in and of itself is an amazing story and the concept. And Jim Carrey's doing his best with what's given to him.
Yeah.
And I think for that, you can commend him. It just, what's coming his way.
Yes.
Isn't always...
I also think Charlize Theron is, Charlize Theron is a superstar, but it's still that weird area where I feel like she's not as recognized for her wide caliber of range that she has demonstrated.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird to me. Like, yeah, she won the Oscar for Monster. Did I say she won the Oscar for Monster?
Yeah, I believe she did.
Yeah, I said that right? Or did I say she won the actor for
You
Monster?
said Oscar.
Yeah, right, yeah. She won the Oscar for Monster. And, like her work in Mad Max Fury Road was definitely acknowledged. And people say she outshined like anyone else in that movie. But the physical transformation she gave to that role, I feel, is not recognized to the degree it can be either. Because a lot of times when you make a beautiful person ugly, they still look beautiful in their ugly makeup. Where in that movie, like, nah, she like all modeling just went away, like she just really committed to that look. And a lot of credit goes to that. And I feel like overall her wide range does. For some reason, I feel like when you get the topic of like, who are the best working actors today? I don't really hear a lot of people bring her up when I think she really is one of not just best actresses, but one of the best actors working today.
She's not in a lot though. These days.
That's true. She doesn't. She's
like kind of taking a back seat a little bit.
She does like in terms of like big movies too. Like she has one movie coming out with like Seth Rogen later this year. It's a romantic comedy, but yeah, I don't know. I feel like with other actresses, we'll hear like Emily Blunt's name a lot or Amy Adams. They're great actresses. They're wonderful. But I'm like, why don't I really hear Charlize Theron in that conversation?
And I think it speaks to the whole thing about being too attractive. She is so pretty, and a lot of what's in right now with casting, I think, is you want people who are human. They've got some kind of a quirk about their face that makes them more ordinary and relatable in every person.
Yeah.
Like, even Emily Blunt, like I don't want to criticize, she's beautiful, but even like she's got a certain uniqueness. Like her nose is a little bit like bulby, which that's not really a flaw, but it kind of does like ding it a certain amount compared to Charlize Theron, who's just perfect.
Who's like a god.
She is.
Yeah.
She's like
really
sculpted out of magic.
I don't know what she is. I can't relate with gorgeous people problems.
Me either.
Whatever,
what?
Kat.
You don't think I mean that? I totally mean that.
I look right into the camera. I I've heard people say that before, like, especially, growing up around actors my whole life. I've heard a lot of people say that before. And of course, my mind immediately goes to, oh my God, they're so self-absorbed. Like when she's saying with that quote about the lack of range for actors and actresses who are like tall and beautiful. I've heard people say that and my eyes roll because I'm like, yeah, some real fucking problems you got. But if I try to put myself there, I guess I can see with the profession you're trying to achieve and the way people generally treat you. It's like I treat everyone equally, but I think in society, good-looking people and like great-looking people in general are treated a little bit differently.
Yes, but but in showbiz, it's different for maybe the rest of the world. Like not that I'm saying I'm great-looking, but even for whatever I am, which is on the nice part of the scale of things, I would say that's fair. I'm trying to be humble here.
Yeah, underline the word trying right there. Yeah.
Humble. No, I'm not Charlize Theron, and I'm not saying I am. But for comedy, within comedy, I'm very attractive, and I'm told by my
in the comedy world, I'm a very attractive person.
Just in that.
No, that's true. I would second that because it's a weird thing where I've noticed with lady comedians who are generally, if they weren't a comedian or whatever, they're just generally a very physically attractive person. There's kind of a harder game for some reason for them.
There is.
And that's just not for me, like, hearing them complain. I see it. I just see it on the internet. I see it the way people respond.
There's the haters, because people want to hate. They want to bring someone down who's more attractive. And then there's the politics of it, with other girls who are attractive and biggery.
The cliche goes, if you're a woman, who's ugly, then you should be a comedian. That's like the old cliche. It's a messed up cliche, yeah.
And then even when it comes to booking stuff, especially paid gigs in the college market, this is just something that a manager told me. She's like, okay, you have to ugly yourself up because these girls are intimidated. Those aren't my words. These are something that a manager said to me. I don't really follow that advice.
I mean, I was told the same thing, and then the channel blew up. Really.
Imagine what he'd look like if he didn't ugly himself up.
Cut my hair, got my six-pack back, all those things.
No, but it is hard. But then it's possible because look at Eliza Schlesinger and Whitney Cummings. They're gorgeous, and they made it.
True. We talked about a few of these people who've been typecast. I know this is a second list to something they've done before, so I don't know who they list in the first one. But I'd say Steve Carell has
a similar one to.
I feel like he's mastered the thing they talked about with Jim Carrey.
Yes.
He's that dude who can easily go between like a really hardcore comedy and a very intense dramatic project. You're not like, no one want to fold their arms. Like you just expect that out of the guy now. Like, he can do both, no problem.
Yeah.
And that's a rare thing. And I feel like, I don't know what movie it was where he really broke that mold. I know Dan in Real Life was the dramedy department. I think Steve Carell's comedy lends itself for something to be dramatic. I don't know exactly which one. It was like Foxcatcher and like Big Short got him a lot of recognition. But there was one movie where it must have been it. Where like, this guy's a great dramatic actor, So yeah, it was a great list. Thank you, What Culture. Thank you for your videos. You guys can subscribe to What Culture. Subscribe to the Reject Nation. Click that notification bell. Check us out on Patreon. Follow Cat Alvarado on social media. This ugly, disgusting-looking comedian.
I know I've got a face for radio, which is why I have a podcast.
Which you should go check out.
Villains of History.
Because if you don't want to look at this white trash who's not white,
I am Latina.
Go check out her podcast. Support the ugly.
Support this hideous beast of a woman.